When we want to live purposefully, how we think about the difficulty and comfort of what we do has a big impact on our ability to live purposely. In this video, I'll share with you 3 models of how we can think about the relationship between purpose and both comfort and difficulty. Knowing these models will give you a leg up. It'll give you insight into how to live more purposefully. My name is Bradley Wright. I'm a professor of sociology and the founder of the Life Purpose Lab. We have taught over 900 people how to find purpose in their lives. And one of the issues that comes up again and again is that it's difficult. Today, we're going to take a deep dive into understanding that. To start with, let me tell you a story about a recent vacation. With my family, we went up to Banff, Canada to go hiking. Here is some footage that I took from the top of one of our hikes. As you can see, it's just beautiful. It was an awe-inspiring moment. And it was made all the more beautiful because I did it with my son, so we got to spend that time together. All in all, it was a very meaningful experience, and doing it was very purposeful for me. But that's not the whole story. There's actually a lot of difficulty in getting there. First of all, I had to get from Connecticut to Banff. That meant getting up really early, driving up to Boston. There's a lot of traffic. It was raining. I was running late. I got to the airport, waited for the flight, flew to one place, flew to another, got out, rented a car, waited for my son and his family. Then we drove over to Banff. That night, we checked into a new place once we found it. Didn't sleep too well the first night or two. Then to do this hike, we had to get up early and we had to walk up the mountainside for a couple hours. Now, I'm not complaining. It was a privilege to do it. I would do it again tomorrow. But what I want to point out is that there was a lot of difficulty in achieving that moment of significant purpose and meaning. And that's what I want to explore. One way of thinking about the relationship between purpose and difficulty is to think that if we're living purposefully, it should be all good things, only good things, all the time. In other words, we should have the good things of purpose without the bad things of difficulty. In this way, purpose might be like floating in a pool on a raft, like a little drink in the sunshine. Just all ease and comfort. The problem with this model is that purpose is often difficult for a number of reasons. But if we think it's supposed to be comfortable and not be difficult, then we don't try things that we know are difficult. And if we start doing something that is purposeful, and as it invariably does, it gets difficult, then we stop doing it. So this model, the purpose is comfort model, is problematic. The second model allows for there to be difficulties when we act purposefully, but it doesn't want too many of them. It assumes that the benefits and the felt gains of purpose should always outweigh the felt difficulties of acting purposefully. So the benefits should always outweigh the cost. And if we're doing something where at some point in time, the costs outweigh the benefits, then we're doing something wrong, or we've chosen the wrong thing, or it's not really purposeful. The problem with this model is that the benefits of purpose and the difficulties of purpose often have different time frames. So a typical pattern is that we do something that's purposeful, and initially it's very difficult. It's hard for us to do. We don't like doing it. But over time, it starts to feel meaningful, and we start to get the benefits of it being purposeful. Eventually, we forget the difficulties, we get used to them, or we forgot that we needed them when we started, and we just have the benefits of the meaning. This is what happened to me with the Banff trip. There's a lot of difficulties in getting there, but once you're on that mountaintop, I forgot all about them, and then after the vacation, I haven't thought about them once. I just remember the times of connecting with friends and family, and then also the hiking and the beautiful nature. The third model puts purpose first, and it almost disregards difficulties. It makes the assumption that we should be able to endure difficulties and costs, where to forego comfort in order to live more purposefully. In other words, purpose matters, difficulties are deeply discounted. It's almost as if it doesn't matter how difficult something is, as long as it's purposeful. So think of elite athletes training for the Olympics. That's their purpose, to win the race. And they revolve their whole life around it. They train for years. They put themselves into great pain and agony. They get themselves out of bed. They do really difficult things, but it's all in service of that purposeful end. We also see this with great world leaders. Think of Gandhi or Mother Teresa or Martin Luther King Jr. These are people who set aside issues of comfort and difficulty and focused solely on what mattered. We could think of this as being a purpose first or a purpose only model. Now, I'm not there, but I'm fascinated by it, and I want to be working toward it. Let's think about how we experience these models. In some way, Different people are prone to take one model more than the other. So people who discount comfort and are willing to accept difficulties in one area of life are probably more willing to do so in other areas of their lives. We think of these as purposeful people. When there are people who are not willing to assume any difficulties or very few difficulties to live purposely, then they're not going to have a lot of purpose. So there is between-person variation, but also there's within-person variation. There are different areas of our lives where we're more or less willing to accept difficulties. So I know multiple people for whom they'll work really hard for their careers. They'll accept a lot of difficulties. They'll delay gratification to get what matters most to them. But in terms of relationships, not so. They expect relationships to be continually comfortable, and if they're not comfortable, if they're not easy, then there's something wrong. I also know other people who work really hard at relationships. And so there's variation within a person across the domains of our lives. And that's a good way to think about ourselves and purpose, is being aware of where we're willing to accept difficulties and where we're not. Because as you understand this, then you're more willing to accept what is difficult, and you're more willing to respond to it thoughtfully as you engage as more purposeful. So I suppose in a big picture, this video is all about the journey into purpose and knowing what to expect, but also realizing there are things that we have to overcome. If you want to learn more about the different time frames of purpose and its difficulties, the last video I published is all about that. It takes these different time frames, explains them, and then creates a cognitive reframe that you can use to live more purposefully. I'll link to that video right here. If you have found this video to be useful, please subscribe. That's very encouraging to me, and it'll help other people to find it as well, in addition to getting you updates on new videos. Thank you, and until next time.